You're listening to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Call in on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Welcome into the Weekend Sports Buzz. Myself, Tyler Boyd, in studio today with just my man, Adam Taylor, the intern. Kelly Patrick's on the road with us. Kelly, are you there?
I am here. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Kelly, you're on your way to the Bengals-Browns rivalry game. Little, 1 p.m. kickoff at Paul Brown Stadium, CBS. Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah, it should be a good game. Not exactly the two best teams in the NFL, but I am a Bengals fan, so I'm really looking forward to it.
We all know I'm a Browns fan. You're a Bengals fan. So it's kind of a, little maybe Sunday rival battle between me and you. We're both also in the KFFSC Fantasy Football League here in Kentucky. That's the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. And, of course, our man Farrell Elliott, the commissioner of the league, will join us, Kelly, at 11 o'clock today, as always, to break down Fantasy League. Do you have any guys from the Bengals or the Browns on your team?
In two of my leagues, I'm in 3 leagues. In 2 of my leagues, I'm starting the Bengals defense this week, and I'm starting the kicker, Mike Nugent, in one of my leagues this week. So I'll have a little bit of a vested interest this week. How about you? Are you starting Brandon Weeden?
I thought about it. Very, very good, tough call not to start Brandon Weeden. But, yeah, no, I'm going to go with Tom Brady, considering he is the man. So I'm going to stick with Tom. Brandon Weeden was on the chopping block, though. I almost had him. Other than that, though, Kelly, obviously yesterday we had a lot of football around the Bluegrass going on. We're going to talk about that today. Kentucky last night in the most recent game. Wow.
Golly, that was amazing. I mean, the coach Willie Taggart of Western just comes out of there looking like the hottest coach in the country in my eyes. Yeah,
I mean, his only 2 losses in the last 11 games now have came to Alabama and LSU. You can't really compare to that. And then you come into Lexington against obviously a depleted UK defense at the most. So the offense seems to be going okay at most point. Obviously, Max Smith did have 4 interceptions, if I'm correct. But, Western's good. Kelly Taggart, he's got himself looking into making a step up. I mean, obviously, he could stay at Western for another couple years, but obviously he's making a push as maybe a coach for the future, not necessarily for Kentucky, but, a bigger program.
But he played at Western. He was a quarterback in the 90s at Western and went on to coach under the legendary, I believe it's Jack Harbaugh.
Yeah.
So, now, I mean, why not just stay at Western? They're Division I. I would guess that he'll stay there for a few more years, minimally. But, I mean, they seem to have some good resources, and obviously he's able to get the talent to go into an SEC city and beat an SEC team. So, I mean, why not just stay there?
As a Kentucky fan, I wouldn't really call him an SEC team. Not the Alabama, the LSU at least, of the SEC. You know where I'm going.
Man, you're right, though. He looks great. Willie Taggart, I said to the owner, Dugan Ryan, of our wonderful station, I said to him that, Willie Taggart looks like a genius. He looks like he had some of the Harbaugh fairy magic fairy dust sprinkled on him, and especially with that call in overtime. I mean, what a great call! That'll be up for some serious awards this year. Do you think that's the play of the year, Tyler?
Yeah, obviously, Kelly. If people who didn't see it, he's reverting back to it was the number 4 play on ESPN's Top 10, which is kind of surprising me. It should have been number 1 as it coming from the losing fan from that standpoint. But, the quarterback overtime, Kentucky scored first. Western Kentucky comes out looking to obviously needing a score to advance to keep the game going in the overtime.
Lyle.
No, not Jaquan Lyle. He's the recruit. Kawan Jakes. Thank you. Kawan Jakes.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Kawan Jakes stepped back for the hike. Passes the ball to the flats on his right side. You're thinking, oh, look, it's bottled up. There's plenty of UK defense. As soon as I saw it, I go, yes. And then when you turn around, Kawan Jakes is rolling out left. They throw it backwards to Kawan Jakes, the quarterback. He trots in for a 2-point conversion to beat the Cats.
I mean, it looked just like the most genius from what from what the commentators said was UK was playing. Rick Minter had them lined up in a man-to-man type defense, and just kind of common sense for Willie Taggart is that in a man-to-man scheme, the only guy who you can't really account for is the quarterback. So they were like, well, we'll just throw it right back to him, and they'll just walk in the end zone. I don't care if that was the 10th overall play according to ESPN. It wasn't broadcast on ESPN, so I'm going to call foul and say they're just pissed that they didn't get that game.
Yeah, correct. It was on ESPN. It was on ESPNU, so it was on the Family Network.
Was it? Okay.
Did you not know that?
Okay.
What did you watch it on?
Let's see here. I watched it on. I guess I did watch it on ESPNU. I don't.
Wow.
I don't know why it'd be the 4th overall. What was
had
ahead
a long
of that?
night before the Cincinnati Bengals game. Obviously, you can't even remember what channel you watched it on.
I mean, what was ahead of that?
Ahead of what?
You said it was the 4th in the ESPN top 10. What was ranked ahead of that?
I actually did not see it. I just saw that tweet this morning when I woke up. Somebody must have saw it. I didn't see the 4 ahead of it. I would like to see it because you don't see that much. The first thing it reminded me of, obviously, that was most recent, was Oklahoma and Boise State. You look back to their bowl game, Boise State in overtime, the Statue of Liberty, and then the hook and ladder, just doing all types of trick plays.
Yeah, I mean, what a gutsy call by Taggart to go for it on, score the touchdown and say, no, we're not gonna kick the extra point. We're just gonna go for 2, and then to have the balls to just call that play was just amazing.
Yeah, Taggart, I was sitting there, my roommates, watching the game, and I all night on Twitter, you can follow me at Boyd, KentuckySports.co. All night on Twitter, I'm reading tweets of Fire Joker, buy Pacino to UK, blah, 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 blah. And I'm the only one, maybe a couple other people out there around the media world just saying, no, it's fine, Kentucky's going to come back, Kentucky's going to come back. And everybody kept tweeting me, you're crazy, man, you're stupid, you're blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Kentucky came back. They scored that touchdown. Regardless, there might have been some stupid penalties recorded by Western, but hey, that's why they play the game, and that's why there's a little yellow flag that allowed Kentucky to get back into it. They tied it up. I felt very confident. They came into the overtime, put up a touchdown. You're thinking, look, Kelly, you can't lose, can you? And then I saw Western driving, getting down there, and I told my roommates, looked at me, and I said, I'm scared if Western scores, they're going to go for a 2-point conversion to win this game. What a surprise. There it is. Boom.
It looked like they were going to fake it out because they first called that they were going to go for 2, and then didn't they call a timeout? You're like, no, they're thinking about this. They're probably going to just kick an extra point. But sure enough, Taggart lined them up, and he had the guts and the confidence in his team to go for the 2. Costly pass interference against Kentucky late there, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's, the play calls, the penalties all night were everywhere. It was kind of a ugly, sloppy game. I mean, if you remember the first 5 minutes, there was probably, I wouldn't even say the first 5 minutes, the first 2-3 minutes, there was 3 to 4 penalties. It was just a kind of a sloppy played game. But like you said, Kelly, Western Kentucky, Willie Taggart. How about this team? That is 2 weeks in a row now that they've played an SEC opponent. Obviously, Alabama being a true power, being the true power across the nation. They did get beat by Alabama 35-0, but they didn't have 1 3-and-out. They had 14 first downs against Alabama. Kentucky did force them to have a couple 3-and-outs last night. You can't be perfect every game. But is this team, I'm not just trying to cover up Kentucky's loss, but Western Kentucky, is this team a really good team, to be honest?
I don't know. It looks like they must be good for the Sun Belt, and they're obviously better than Kentucky, right?
Yeah, I guess you can say that. I'm not really saying they're a really good team. They're not Bama. They're not LSU. They're not Louisville, for an example. I know that. But what I am saying is this team could compete night in and night out. I'm going to assume with most schedules into most countries. If I had to take it, for an example, Louisville's schedule, I bet they could easily go to a bowl game. I'm sorry. This defense is great.
They'll be going to. Looks like they could easily be going to a bowl game, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, but
I don't have the rest of their schedule in front of me right now, but I mean, it certainly seems to me like they are a bowl caliber team. I think that they have the toughest part of their schedule. I'm pulling it up here too. The toughest part of their schedule is now behind them. So I mean, it's time to get on the Western Kentucky bandwagon because they're a hot team. They play Southern Miss next week. Then they play Arkansas State, then Troy from down in Alabama. They go down to Alabama to play Troy. Louisiana Monroe, FIU, Middle Tennessee, Florida Atlantic, Louisiana Lafayette, and North Texas. So those are all winnable games, but not easy. Not easy, I mean, necessarily. Some of those teams are, I mean, Louisiana Monroe, they're not the one that won the big game. Let's see here.
Yes, it is. Louisiana Monroe did beat Arkansas last week. Almost beat, if I'm correct, it was Auburn yesterday.
Auburn. Yep, exactly. Yep. So they got to play them. So Sunbelt's looking good.
It is. It really is. That's 2 weeks in a row beating an SEC team. Down SEC maybe this year a little bit at the bottom. Yeah, but, you know, it happens. You can't be great every year.
Not the top. The SEC at the top still is as strong as ever. You can't deny that.
You can't deny that, but everybody knows that. You just kind of look past that. You got to kind of look at the middle tier of the SEC and what's going on at the bottom. And obviously, maybe the bottom of it is struggling. I mean, look at Arkansas. I mean, what I heard last night was Bobby Petrino not Bobby Petrino. John L. Smith may be out before the season is over within the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly wouldn't surprise me. An interesting stat, not to change the subject, but Jacob Kuiper, our very passionate statistical guru, Jacob Kuiper texted me yesterday and told me that the only BCS schools to ever lose to a Sun Belt team before yesterday, it had happened twice, and both of them were Louisville. Louisville had lost to 2 BCS schools. They lost last year to FIU, and let's see who else is in the Sun Belt that Louisville lost to. I don't.
Are you talking football?
Yeah, football.
In Louisville in recent years?
I guess so. Yeah.
Florida. Did they lose to FIU? Florida International.
Yep, that was one.
Marshall.
Marshall is in Conference USA, right?
Yeah, I'm not off the top of my head. I can't think of.
If someone knows it, I'm looking at the teams: Western, Troy, South Alabama, North Texas, Middle Tennessee, L.A. Monroe, L.A. Lafayette, FIU, Florida Atlantic, and Arkansas State. We beat Arkansas State last year, didn't we?
Yes, yeah. Louisville did beat Arkansas State.
So I don't know exactly what it was, but that was not exactly a good list for both Louisville and Kentucky to be on. Is the only BCS schools to ever lose to a Sun Belt school are now Louisville did it twice and Kentucky's done it once. So I mean, I guess they're good. Maybe they're not that good. Maybe they're just good against college teams from Kentucky.
I mean, I don't really look at that stat too in depth. Kentucky and Louisville haven't lost to teams that other top programs have lost to, like Duke losing to Loyola. Kentucky and Louisville have never done that. So that's just one of those random stats that's kind of just placed in the back, and it's kind of like how many touches somebody got. I mean, how many times? I don't really know how to explain it. I know we're up against this break, Kelly. Kelly's on the road right now to Cincinnati for this Bengals game. Going to get his first NFL action of the season. It's NFL Sunday, Fantasy Football Sunday. We're going to keep talking college football, UK break down a little bit more. UofL, obviously, we're going to start talking about them. Had a tough fourth quarter last night, so if anybody wants to talk about that, Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzzline, 384-1450, 384-1450. Give us a shout. And, of course, the Weekend Sports Buzz is always presented by livingforless.org and Smart Shoppers. Livingforless.org, half-price deals on great restaurants like Wick's, Roosters, and Joe's OK Bayou. Others as well as great golf courses like Covered Bridge, Champions Point. Golf season's coming to an end, so get out there. You can save as much as 75% off only at livingforless.org, and, of course, Smart Shoppers. Anything you need for your car, Smart Shoppers has it. 4200 Produce Lane. Give them a call, 502-964-6652. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Welcome back to Weekend Sports Buzz. 384-1450, the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line. If you all want to give us a call, talking this Louisville UNC game, Western Kentucky upset last night, please do so. We'd love to get your thoughts. Myself, Tyler Boyd, Kelly Patrick, getting you to the 12 o'clock hour, leading you up to some fantasy football talk, some NFL talk. Of course, today on the Buzzline, we're going to talk to Dave Spelkler from Vipe Magazine here in about about less than 10 minutes or so, talking to him about all the local high schools, what's going on. Then at 11 o'clock, of course, Farrell Elliott, KFFSC Commissioner, Fantasy Football Fix. Tune in. You'll definitely want to listen there. And then, Kelly, 11:45, if I'm correct, Gordon Marino?
Yes, Gordon Marino, lead boxing writer for Wall Street Journal. Also, Boxing.com will come on just for a nice update on a couple relatively big boxing matches from last night. I got to watch them with our man Matt McCarthy, so that should be fun to wrap things up. We got a very diverse show today.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Bringing in a little boxing mix. Kelly, I have no idea what happened with this boxing last night. I hope you do.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a couple fights, both of them in Vegas in different venues, and the way I explained it to my buddy was there's two young guys, Saul Canelo Alvarez and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., both very young, up-and-coming stars. And for the sport of boxing, which you could say kind of needs stars, I was hoping that both of them would win their respective fights last night. One of them, Saul Canelo Alvarez, the red-headed Mexican is the good way to remember him. He did win in dominating fashion. And then also, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. did not win, unfortunately, but we'll get to hear Gordon's opinion on his loss to Sergio Martinez. He had a nice final round in the 12th, and do you think that it's a good one about the red-headed Mexican? Have you ever seen a red-headed Mexican, Tyler?
You kind of threw me off with that one, Kelly. I have not. I actually saw his picture, obviously, on the KentuckySports.co. You did a good little blog about this. Kind of not really has to do with Kentucky sports much and whatnot, but we are Louisville. We are one of the king areas of boxing back in the day. If I'm correct, we're the only state, or maybe only city, with 3 heavyweight champions. So yeah, boxing is relevant around the area, even if it's not a local guy. But that's a little bit later in the show. 11:45, Gordon Marino. He is Wall Street Journal, like Kelly said, so stick with us there. I got the document pulled up here, Kelly. The internet has finally working. Thanks to Adam. I'm so smart, Kelly. I couldn't get my computer on because I had a disk inside of the disk drive, and I'm so out of tune with the new technology these days, I couldn't figure it out.
Adam probably helped you and cleared that up right away. Is that right? Adam,
he literally walked over, laughed at me, pushed the disk button, and he was ready to go.
I tried not to
Adam,
laugh, but, you know.
You shouldn't have helped him, huh?
Well, that would have been awful, Kelly. Anyways, NFL, not NFL, sorry, high school, we're going to talk to Dave here in just a minute. Last Friday, Kelly, not last Friday, Friday, some big-time games went on around the, I wouldn't call it around the area, maybe outside the area for some local programs. A lot of Trinity people, alumni, fans tune in to 1450. Trinity had a dogfight against St. X Cincinnati. They pulled it out in the final few minutes to beat them in a barn burner, and then St. X got beat by Cincinnati Moeller in a game. One guy that might know that lives in Cincinnati, Brad Steen, on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzzline. Brad, what's going on?
What's going on, guys?
Nothing much, Brad. Just hanging out. Brad is, of course, our Cincinnati Reds, KentuckySports.co, UK Sports contributor. Brad, up in Cincinnati, obviously a big Reds fan. Little high school football went up there for locally from down here up there. Moeller taking out Cincinnati, and of course, our Trinity beat St. X of Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's you know what? If there's one thing that Cincinnati knows, it's high school football. But I want to keep this short and sweet. I want to talk a little bit about the Kentucky football game last night because I was there. I think I have given this team way too much credit. I thought, I was very positive after the Louisville game. I was even more positive after the Kent State game. But this team has taken a major step back on the football field. I think Joker's seat just got really, really warm, and I think that at the end of the year that this game right here might be the nail in the coffin for his coaching career, unfortunately.
I will go ahead and say his seat's not warm, Brad. His seat's on fire. If it was kind of warm heading into the season, it's definitely on fire now. It's a wick about to be like a rocket and taking off. The man, I mean, I know Mitch Barnhart was in the press conference last night with Joker Kelly. He hasn't been in there all season with him. Maybe he's trying to show he supports his coach, he's backing his coach, which I do like that, but that's also a sign of I support my coach until the season's over. They're probably going to go elsewhere. Brad, you said you were at the game. What was the fans like when it came down to that play, and obviously Kentucky lost on Western's trickery?
They were stunned. I was actually sitting right next to Western's fans, and they were the loudest people in the building. I mean, Kentucky fans were just sitting on their hands the entire game. Western wanted it more, and they totally fed off their fans. So huge shout-out to the Hilltoppers for bringing their A-game. It's frustrating. You know, the offense is definitely our key point because the defense they're terrible this year. I mean,
yeah.
Just watching them just getting thrown on, run on. They were doing whatever Western wanted to do last night. You know, Maxwell Smith threw 4 interceptions the game. You can't have that.
Nope.
You know, if you're going to beat a team like Western, you gotta hold on to the football. But that's all for me. I just wanted to call in. Red's magic number is actually at 6 games.
All right.
And they're playing, I think, later tonight, if not today. That's all for me, guys. Thanks.
We appreciate it, Brad. Kelly, Brad calling in. Of course, he's one of our main guys, KentuckySports.co. Brad sounded disappointed, Kelly.
No, I can't argue with him. Obviously, I'm a Louisville fan, so I have a little bit different perspective. My only thing to compare it to, I guess, would be this. That Louisville last year did lose to FIU at Papa John's. They lost to Marshall at Papa John's.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up having an okay season, you know.
Yeah, Kentucky does have a rough schedule, though. It's a little bit different.
They do. Yeah, if they pull out a couple upsets, maybe, you know, you never know. They could beat you know, the Mississippi teams maybe, and if they at the end of the season, I think is when Joker really should be evaluated. Nobody had high expectations coming into this season, I don't think, did they?
No, if they did, they were a little crazy. Obviously, I predicted 5.2 wins. I kind of like to put my .2 in there. I was thinking more in the line of 5. I'm still not totally off this team. We lost to Western. I'm shot in the heart like any other fan. You know me, though, Kelly. I'm more of an optimistic compared to a lot of other fans, as you are towards the Louisville fan base, towards the Louisville program, which is never a bad thing. I'm not totally off the ship yet. I like Joker. I will always like Joker. People who always are saying, F you, Joker, get him out, blah, blah, blah. You're dumb. I would love to see you do half of what Joker could do. Anyways, let's get to the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzzline, because I got my man from Vipe Magazine on the line, giving us a call every weekend, getting a little update around the high school world. Dave Spelker. Dave, how are you this Sunday?
Hey, good morning. Doing great. How about you guys?
I'm not doing the best. Kelly's probably doing better than me.
Yeah, boy, tough one last night. That was, wow. Well, you guys, you'll have plenty of time to talk about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll redirect for a few minutes and talk about some cool stuff going on in high school. How about that?
That's awesome. Why don't you get us kicked off with a little bit of high school? Which you don't have to really recap much of the game. Obviously, me and Kelly brought up Trinity, squeaked it out against St. X of Cincy, and St. X of Louisville lost to Moeller. You know, it's a win-loss for the program, but some other local scores that went on in the area. Male beat Boone County. Boone County is always a good program. Over here in Indiana, Jeffersonville was looks like took on Providence. Oh, no, that's next week's schedule. Sorry, I'll skip that, Dave.
Getting ahead of yourself.
Get ahead of myself.
No, we did have some good games. We talked about PRP's high-octane offense. Man,
yes.
They put 60 on the board against the Sales. And I was looking ahead at the Panther schedule the rest of the year. They're probably going to be undefeated going into the last game of the year when they play Central, and that's a game I'm going to want to see, because I think Central's got I've said this before, just a really, really good team this year. You know, they held Western this past weekend to like 49 yards rushing, and you know they play St. X this coming week, and that's going to be a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
You know. A lot of good teams around the area. You know, I did see the Trinity game, and you know, I'd give that game ball to Mr. Dawkins, who you know, hobbling around, came out and put that team on his back and carried them to that last-minute touchdown there. That was exciting. Listened to the Moeller game on the radio with Louisville St. X, and, they dug themselves into a hole, came back, and actually had a chance to tie that game at the end. So it was by no means a blowout.
Yeah, I was actually broadcasting, Dave, the Oldham County versus Covington Holy Cross game, so I was kind of watching through Twitter as we went. I didn't get to keep it too much. It seemed to be like a battle, maybe some unfortunate, not really unfortunate maybe for Cincinnati, St. X, that Trinity had a couple goal line stops, maybe 2 goal line stops, third, fourth down, which would win this game. But that was not here and there. Dave, I want to get a little bit more into the other part of the high school and Vite magazine. You all do it all with the, soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, probably bass fishing here soon. What's going on around in Louisville, Southern Indiana?
Yes, props to the St. X soccer team. They're ranked number 4 in the nation now.
Wow.
And they've had, I think their winning streak is like 38 straight matches now, which is a state record.
Wow.
They're incredible. If you love soccer, even if you don't love soccer and just want to see a finely oiled machine, go out and watch the St. X soccer team play. They are balanced. Everybody on the team seems to get in on the scoring. A lot of fun. St. X golf team's got it going too. They just took the Best of the Bluegrass tournament that happened yesterday at the out in Simpsonville at the Cardinal Club. Mm-hmm. Defending state champion Steven Stallings won that. I think he shot like a 3 under 69 for the day, and he's got a teammate, Cooper Musselman, both of who have committed to UK. Really good young men, really good players. If you're into golf, take some lessons from those guys. Our Assumption girls, I think I mentioned last week, they're a top 5 team in volleyball. They went out, I think it was in Las Vegas. They finished second to Torrey Pines of California. Wow. In a huge tournament. And Torrey Pines is a top 3 team too, so no shame in that loss. So they did great. Presentations volleyball team, they finished second in the all Class A tournament here in Kentucky, which is for the smaller schools. So good success for the toppers there. What else did I want to mention? Well, actually, back to Trinity, they will be on ESPN2 this Friday night.
Yes,
they travel up to Indianapolis Cathedral, and there's a doubleheader at Lucas Oil Stadium, and Trinity will play the second game. I think it starts at 8:30. So that's kind of neat. I like to see all of our local kids get recognition like that, so that'll be a once-in-a-lifetime chance for most of those kids. Now, I'm sure there's some of those kids on Trinity that'll be playing on Saturdays next year and have their chances on ESPN, but, still a cool thing, and it's really neat how ESPN does that all around the nation, spreads the wealth and gets some of those teams on TV. Yeah, I totally agree. I do like that. Kelly, are you a fan of, getting to watch some high school football occasionally? Because especially, you don't get to see much from Kentucky. Obviously, many teams here doesn't have the talent level people across the nation want to see, but Trinity does. Kelly, are you a big fan of getting to see the preps?
I like to more than I do, I'll be honest. It's definitely neat to hear about it locally and, on a big perspective. First thing that I go to is, where's Dawkins from Trinity going to college, or Hatcher? And I'm more revolved around how do I get those guys to Louisville. It's very neat to hear, how bad our high school, Oldham County's doing, or
yes.
But other stuff like that, anything local is definitely cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, and Dave Spelker here with Vite Magazine. If you want local and national high school sports, that's the way to go. You can get Vite Magazine at multiple, shops. Dick's Sporting Goods being a big one. Kroger, another big one. There's Kroger around everybody's corner, so you can pick up your Vite. Also, you can check, a bunch of good stuff every Saturday and Sunday through Dave. Dave, obviously, I think you mentioned the St. X golfers.
Yes.
I had their names. Let's see. Musselman, I believe. It was one
Cooper Musselman.
Cooper Musselman and Spencer
Stallings. Say again, I'm sorry?
Looks like we have Cooper Musselman and Spencer Reed.
I think Spencer, Spencer is on
Spencer Reed is Ballard. I see.
Ballard, yes. Yeah, because the 3 of them finished in a tie, and they had to have a playoff.
Yes, I see that.
And Stephen came out on top in it was a rather complicated playoff format because I think it was getting dark on him. Anyway, Stephen pulled out the individual title, and that's kudos to him. I did want to mention real quick, if you get a chance to grab our latest magazine that's on the stand, a really good article in there by Dr. Sam Carter on ACL injuries.
Okay.
And he focused on the female athletes, how they tend to have these injuries a little more often than guys, and how the healing process for the women is different than the men. So certainly if you've got a daughter that's involved in high school sports, her chances of having this injury, unfortunately, are greater than if you've got a son out there playing. So this is a really good article for any parent to take a look at. And
yeah,
then we've got Coach Steve Small.
That's one thing I do like about Vipe. The variety of sports articles, and not just focused on scores and what happened and blah blah blah. You're going more into detail. You all like good stories, and that's another thing. Like, we brought on Griffin Ull, who was Kelly. Correct me if I'm wrong. Henryville, Ohio high school football.
Henryville up in Indiana.
Yeah, we brought him on after, obviously, the tragic tornado came through. Great story from him. No high school football team from him. And I like stuff like that, Dave, and Vipe's all over that.
Yes, that we certainly, we like reporting on the schools and the teams that are doing well, but we try to find articles and advice to help the kids get ready for college and, heal injuries and do better on their ACT test scores. And we even got an article this week or this month from Steve Small, who's the basketball coach at Assumption, and he's been a long-time contributor to the magazine. He talks about how parents shouldn't give their kids everything. They have to learn that they need to work for things, and to, just hand a child everything they want as they grow up is really not doing them a favor at all. So, he says it a lot better than I just did, but again, one of those types of stories that, it's good parental advice, and, that's what we like to do at Vipe.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. Kelly is obviously a young parent of some younger children, so Kelly, you need to pick up a Vipe and get some tips in there.
I need to employ some of that strategy with my daughter. I have a 4-year-old daughter who seems to be able to get me to do about whatever she wants, so I need to pick up Vipe and implement that into my life.
Dave, I can't let you go. It's NFL Sunday. Do you have a favorite NFL team?
I have been a fan of the Minnesota Vikings for probably longer than you've been alive, so I've gone through mainly bad times, but I swear, before I die, they're going to win a Super Bowl.
Hey, they play today, 1 o'clock. You get to catch them on TV if you're available, Dave. Fox 41 and get at the Colts.
At the Colts. I thought about even trying to get tickets to that, but I didn't know before the season started if Peterson would be playing or not, and so I didn't. So yeah, I'll be on the couch watching the game today, and wearing my Alan Page jersey. I don't even know if you know who that is, but he was one of my childhood heroes.
There you go. Kelly's actually on his way up to the Bengals game on the road right now, so we'll all be enjoying some NFL Sunday. Dave, I appreciate taking a few minutes every weekend as always. You'll be back on Saturday of this week, so if everybody wants to tune in and catch your high school talk, Dave will be on Saturday. Vipe Magazine, Dave Spelker, we appreciate it.
Guys, thanks very much. Y'all have a good Sunday.
You too, Dave. Kelly, I love talking about high school sports. I know we're slowly, with our high school broadcasting, KentuckySports.co, slowly getting into the high school game, which you need to get out there, and at least once you'll enjoy it, Kelly. I'm telling you.
I need to. You're right. I really do need to. I want to go out and at least see a local team out where, maybe near where I live in the Middletown area. But yeah, you're right. The high school stuff is where it's at. Everybody tunes in. Like you said, a lot of Trinity faithful tune into our station, and there's a good high school scene here, and it's a great way to stay involved in the community and all sorts of positive stuff. One thing I would say to Dave is, unfortunately, today I'm starting Christian Ponder as my starting quarterback in one of my leagues. So hopefully he can tear up that Colts defense, and it's not just Adrian Peterson dominating the horrible Colts run defense.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Anyways, we're up against this break. Some like I said, some key NFL games today, since we are going to talk to Farrell in just a minute. Cleveland is heading to Cincinnati. Like Dave just mentioned, his Minnesota Vikings at Indianapolis. Down the list a little bit, the defending champs Giants will be playing the Tampa Bay. Jets versus Pittsburgh, always a defensive battle. So you got some good ones on the list. And, of course, Monday Night Football, Denver is playing at Atlanta. Peyton Manning. That's all I have to really say. Kelly, I'm excited for KFF today, as you are. We'll come back. We'll talk some Louisville, Kelly, because I know you want to talk about that almost Renner chicken dinner. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.
Ford Lincoln Buzzline at 384-1450. Weekend Sports Buzz.
We're back, the Weekend Sports Buzz. Myself, Tyler Bloyd, Kelly Patrick, on the road today, heading to the Cincinnati Bengals game. And, of course, the Weekend Sports Buzz brought to you by livingforless.org. And smart shoppers, get on livingforless.org. Half-off deals, 75% off some things. Golf courses, Wicks, Joe's OK Bayou, great stuff on there, livingforless.org. And, of course, let's see what's today. It's the 16th. Located at Oxmoor Ford, located right across from Oxmoor Mall, free shuttle service, and exceptional customer lounge. Oxmoor Ford service, great people, great prices, great service every day. Go check them out. Tell them you heard it right here on 1450 to Sports Buzz, the Weekend Sports Buzz. They'll give you a good little hookup. Of course, Kelly, long talk Louisville last night, Louisville yesterday, went up early. Took Louisville, went up real early. Took UNC like it was just going to be one of those ugly 56-7 ball games. I left a little bit early, I'm not going to lie. Got home, turned the TV on. Louisville's about to lose.
Yeah, it was a very emotionally draining game. There's a lot of highs and a lot of lows in that game for me. And we actually have on the line with us Joel Zimmerman to talk to us about just exactly how the game went yesterday. He was actually there at the game. How you doing this morning, Joel?
Morning, folks. How are you?
Doing great. What did you think of the game yesterday?
Emotionally draining. I mean, I collapsed in my chair after that fourth down play North Carolina ran. Yeah, emotionally draining, but we got to be thrilled with the victory. But, you had mentioned that you had left the game about halfway through, and I think that the perception of that nationally, because a lot of fans did, a lot of fans left right after halftime, that's on national television. That shows up, and that looks horrible. All the fans who got up and left that game, and they do it at the Yum Center all the time while the game's on the line, we can't be doing that. At Papa John's Cardinal Stadium, that's a really loud environment, and the louder we get, the harder it is for them to call plays down on there. Then the same thing goes at the Yum Center. I don't think we'd ever lose a game at the Yum Center if that place was as loud as it was during that Butler game. That first Butler game, that was the loudest place I've ever been in my life. And teams can't concentrate, so we got to stay in our seats. I'm not like Charlie Strong, and he gets upset when everybody doesn't show up on time. It's a different kind of crowd going to a Louisville game. This isn't all college kids. This is people from the community coming out, tailgating, enjoying the weather. I get that, but they eventually will show up. The important thing is getting them to stay in their seats while the game's on the line.
Yeah, I will say, backing myself up, I'm allowed to leave. I'm a Kentucky fan. I had to get the hell out of there.
I understand. I had the pleasure of listening to the call, the Kentucky call of that end of the game last night. That's tough breaks, guys.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that right now. Joel, I think you had a little something you wanted to bring up. Kelly told me throughout the week. Am I right, Kelly?
Yeah, Joel is a very passionate guy when it comes to talking about conference realignment. And I like, Joel, how you brought up the fact that a lot of Louisville fans left during the game. Although, based on Charlie Strong's comments right after the game, you wouldn't really have known it. But I actually watched the game, on TV, on ABC, and I got to hear the commentators, and they noticed it. Danny Cannell, they were making comments about how a lot of the guys have left. Fortunately, we had a lot of those thunder sticks in the stands, which, at least on TV, it seemed like those made a lot of noise. So it was able to kind of make up for the fact that a lot of people have left. But, Joel, what do you think of this close call of a win and the implications it has for the future of Louisville football related to conference realignment?
Well, I think, again, that this all plays into the national perception. The people across the country are looking at the kind of fan support that Louisville has, and I know that we have it. But the one thing that our fans do very well that we know is spend money. I mean, we have an immensely profitable athletic program. unfortunately, that doesn't play too big of a role, I don't think. I mean, it certainly plays a factor being profitable, but, what's important to different conferences, the ACC and Big 12 in particular, when they're going to look at us, is type of value we add to the television markets, type of value we add to people watching TVs in Louisville, but also the type of eyeballs that Louisville will draw nationally. Now, back when we had Bobby Petrino and we were playing all these games on ESPN during the week, we became the national darling. They were the only game on many, many nights, and we were playing a very exciting brand of football. A brand of football is very exciting. We're playing now, too, luckily. So we need to get back to that. But I think that, this is our audition year. This is the most important year of football this program has ever had since we decided not to abandon the program back in the 80s. And I am a big believer that every single down counts, every single win counts. That was the most crucial game we've ever played, I think. Yesterday's game really was supposed to cement the perception of this team in the minds of college football fans across the country. And then you see it if you watch SportsCenter, you watch the college game day final that we just watched a little bit ago, all they're doing is running down Louisville. You know that the corporate bosses at ESPN are telling them to do that, talk about, running down the top team in the Big East because the television contracts are coming up. There is a closed negotiating period between the Big East right now and ESPN. And I believe at the end of this month, that contract negotiation will then be opened up to other potential suitors. The main one would be NBC. NBC has purchased the Versus Network and have rebranded it NBC Sports. They need content for that network. They're going to re-sign Notre Dame to their full-time national television contract, but they'd like more content for NBC proper and the NBC Sports Network. So what the ESPN's trying to do is water down the perception of the Big East, so that contract will probably come in a lot lower financial-wise than they would expect it to.
So, Joe, let me ask you this: being, as a card fan you are, and a sports, kind of getting into the details of the things going on. Is Louisville next on in the pecking order of moving conferences to somebody else, or is it maybe Florida State? Is it somebody else that you wouldn't think?
Well, I would agree with you. I think Louisville's next up because who else is there? Florida State would be great. Unfortunately, I know that the ACC has agreed to a $50 million per team buyout of their. So if you want to get out of the ACC, you're going to have to now pay $50 million to do it. The ACC, and I got these figures here. ACC now has a $13.6 billion television contract with ESPN that lasts 15 years. That's paid $17.1 million per team. That will now be negotiated up now that they've added Notre Dame. So that will go up, but that's a lot of money compared to the Big 12. Their television contract with ESPN and Fox for $2.6 billion over 13 years and $20 million per team. That also has provisions for those dollar figures to go up if they were to add another team. But the important thing is they have to find other teams that add value. Louisville certainly does add some value, but not enough to really push the needle. They need another partner to go in with. Florida State would be fantastic, slam dunk. But Florida State's athletic department's in the red. They're not pulling in much of a profit, if any. They're going to have a hard time paying $50 million to get out of that conference. So you look at a team like BYU. BYU is a perfect match, except they're very difficult to work with. They don't want to play football or any sports on Saturdays or on Sundays, so that doesn't affect football as much, but it certainly affects all the other basketball and all the other sports they would want to come in with. So who else is out there? Boise State. Well, certainly they bring the football credentials on the field, but don't bring much of a TV market. Aren't a very profitable program. Rutgers is another one you look at. They bring that Northeast TV market, but again, they're middle-of-the-road football, middle-of-the-road basketball. I think that if someone popped up, if we could think of somebody that really moved the needle on getting eyeballs on television screens, that would be enough to get Louisville and another player in there, but they're not going to just go add teams for the reason just only to add teams. They're going to need to do somebody that adds value. Oh, and there's one more that we should be talking about that now finally is getting a little bit of national attention is South Florida. Now, the Big 12, or the SEC, goes into Texas, takes Texas A&M, hits them right in the heart of Big 12 country. I think it's only fair the Big 12 goes into Florida and hits them right in SEC country and takes a team like South Florida. absolutely no tradition there, but they play in a really cool NFL stadium. It's a huge college, huge student body. They're willing to put a lot of money into their athletic program. They've got a good coach there. I think that'd be great because that way the Big 12 country can go into Florida and recruit in that territory. Plus, that'd be great for Louisville because that's our top recruiting pipeline.
Certainly. I know that, Joel, you're right. I agree with you 100%. The importance of this season is arguably greater than ever as far as, the future of the Louisville football program. Bringing the conversation back a little bit, this specific game, we got off to a hot start. We were able to pull it together in the second half just by a shoelace, you could say. I mean, just barely won thanks to a play, a defensive stop by, Andrew Johnson, the president. Being the eternal Cardinal optimist fan that I am, I'll say we won. A win's a win. And in a way, you could spin this, that it's actually a little better that we won the way we did, because now Vance Bedford, Charlie Strong, they have a legitimate reason to ensure that this team doesn't get too ahead of themselves for the rest of the season. So at the end of the day, what matters is that Louisville wins games, and that most importantly now we focus on FIU and we win next week. What do you think of the direction of this team and the way that they won the game? What are your feelings going forward?
I think, anytime you can leave a game with a victory and still be disappointed in your team, I think that's actually a good situation to be. It keeps them hungry, keeps them motivated. That's what Coach Crum would tell you if you were asking about the basketball team. If you can get out of the game and be very aggravated with the team, that means they're going to have a very good week of practice this week. I went to the games with my granddad, and he pointed out that it was probably a good thing that North Carolina looked so good because in the long run, you want to be able to say you beat a very quality ACC opponent as opposed to drubbing, some horrible team out of the ACC. The team that they beat last week, or that they lost to last week, Wake Forest, lost, 52-0 to Florida State? That's embarrassing. So I think the direction of the program and of the team this year, the stock has definitely got to go up. I think that, just looking at the score line, if you were to go read the bottom line, the perception beat Louisville will be a very good North Carolina team and move on, and hopefully we'll really hang some points on Florida International next week.
There you go, Joel. We're up against this break. Joel, you got to call in, next Sunday so we can have a little bit more time to talk about, obviously Louisville and maybe a little bit more of this conference talk since Notre Dame is leaving, because we got to get to our guests. We got a loaded guest today, so call us next Sunday, my man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it, guys.
Anytime.
Thanks, Joel. Good stuff there from Joel.
Kelly,
are we up against the break?
Are you a co-worker with Joel? Is he just a big sports fan you've met somewhere?
Joel is a good friend of my brother-in-law's,
okay.
And I have got to know him over the years and kind of just recognize, this guy, as you can tell, he's very passionate about his Louisville Cardinals, and he kind of looks at the details with the conference realignment, hence the references to the specific numbers, the buyouts, and things like that. So I just thought, he's a sharp.
There you go. Looks like Kelly's going through a down spot on 71. They're heading up to Cincinnati for the Bengals game. He's going to be tailgating. Hopefully he's tailgating for the next hour. I know we're up against this break. We're going to talk to our man from Farrell Elliott, the Big Freeze from the KFFSC.com. He's the commissioner. Get a little fantasy football talk since it is Sunday. We got NFL going on here in about 2 hours or so. Everybody wants to tune in for that. And, of course, at 11:45, Gordon Marino from the Wall Street Journal. A little boxing talk. Everybody in the Louisville area enjoys boxing. So, of course, stick with us. 384-1450. Check us out on 1450thesport.com. We'll be right back.
This is the Weekend Sports Buzz. Let us know what you think. Give us a call on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
We're back here, the Weekend Sports Buzz, Hour 2. Myself, Tyler Boyd, Kelly Patrick's on the line, heading up to Cincinnati, taking in his first Bengals game of the year. He's a diehard Bengals fan. Before we do get into this segment, I do want to get out our sponsor. As always, leading into the man, Farrell Elliott. This segment is always brought to you by Jamie Cox of Keller Williams, Louisville East. If you're playing fantasy football, it's all about a winning strategy. I am playing, so I'm all about winning. For a winning strategy, when you buy or sell a home, allow Jamie Cox of Keller Williams, Louisville East, to put together a winning game plan for you. With interest rates near an all-time low, there has never been a better time to buy or upgrade. For personal attention, effective marketing, and results, contact Jamie Cox at 502-593-5454 or give Jamie an email directly at jamie@thederbycityrealtor.com. He will hook you up. He will talk fantasy football with you. He's going to lose to me in the playoffs. I'm sorry, Jamie, you're my man, but it got to take you down. Getting right to it. Kelly, you there?
You better believe it, brother.
Farrell's there. What's going on, Farrell?
You have some strong talk for a guy that's 1-0 right out of the box.
1-0, Farrell. I'm living a dream right now in this KFFSC league.
You are just you've gone a little bit over the top, already rattling the sword towards Jamie Cox. But congratulations on your week 1, and congratulations on Kelly's week 1. A very, very big start for you guys.
Yes, Kelly was actually in a barn burner, Farrell. He needed his last day performance, if I'm correct, Philip Rivers. Kelly, are you on the line?
8 is not available.
Kelly is not on the line. Farrell, he's on his way to Cincinnati right now to watch the Bengals game. We got him kind of doing the Skype thing, and he'll join us if he can here in a minute. But, yeah, he was in a barn burner. Philip Rivers pulled it out for him on the Monday Night Football, which is always nice. Matt and Brad, Prestige Worldwide, had to put up a good number, Farrell, but, they faced one of the top players in the league.
Well, when the Orange Division is full of top players, do you remember who their opponent was?
I don't remember exactly who they played. I looked at it over the week, and I forgot.
I didn't get to go into their score, but you see how close these games are, and that's what makes every decision, and that's what every decision important when you're putting your lineup together, and that's what we can help the listeners with this morning. Last week, in Kelly's situation, he started Fred Davis and Philip Rivers, and he had to eke out a win.
Yeah.
He would have had a significant week if he had started Peyton Manning and Mercedes Lewis. So now he's sitting there trying to figure out, does he go Lewis or Davis? Davis is a higher-rated tight end, but even in that pass-happy game against the Saints, it didn't seem like he was the receiver of choice for Robert Griffin. And it's in Rivers' case, if I have Peyton Manning on my roster, Rivers is going to see a lot of my fantasy bench. But there's some great decisions that we have to make this weekend going forward. Is your lineup set?
My lineup is set, and just so you know, Brad and Matt Farrell, they took on Sunday Violence or Violence, one of the two. Owner is Richard Hodge.
Richard Hodge is one of our longest players. He's a very, very good player.
Okay.
He puts hours and hours of fantasy work into it. What was their final? Was it a close game?
That final, he put up 155, and Prestige Worldwide, they only put up 120. So it was kind of a beatdown.
A bit of a drubbing, but the great thing about fantasy football is next week.
It's always about next week.
We're here in number 2, and so we're in really good shape. One of the most interesting things that has now happened with Thursday night's game is the injury to Matt Forte. And if players were fortunate enough to have Michael Bush on their roster, they were able to cover their Forte injury with that handcuff. Many people didn't do that because Bush came off the board very, very early in the draft. So teams that have Bush on the roster, if he was not a handcuff to Forte, you've now got another running back to put in the mix, and your team has exploded in potential. So that was the most interesting thing that I saw already developing out of Thursday's games.
Yeah. Hey, Kelly, are you there, Kelly?
I am. I'm here.
Kelly, we got Farrell on the line.
I heard that. I heard he was mentioning something right up my alley, and that was my quarterback situation. Farrell, did I hear you say that you would leave Philip Rivers on the bench?
I would. I'm going to put that future Hall of Famer in the lineup and look at Monday Night Football as his 2012 explosive coming out game, and I'm going to enjoy sitting there watching my team win. That's the move that I would make this week.
That's what I'm doing, actually, so I'm glad to hear, that someone of your stature agrees with me, so I appreciate it, Farrell.
Well, you're off to a good start, and congratulations, brother, and I hope you enjoy that. I hope you enjoy that game in Cincinnati today. a very interesting roster that is coming to shape up there. You know, one of the things that we're seeing around the league, guys, is this no huddle football option, and what is creating is a situation where the slot receiver ends up being defended by a linebacker. So if you have any receivers that were playing out of the slot, or if you see any free agents in your division that are moving into the slot, that's a player that you probably want on your roster. One of the most interesting players that developed this week out of Buffalo would be the receiver Donald Jones. Now, Jones is certainly not a household word. He was meant to play on the outside, but in the first half of week one, David Nelson, a player that I respected and had on a lot of my teams, as a later round pick, Nelson tore his ACL. Now Jones moves into the slot, and that's certainly what Buffalo intends to do, is to go with the no-huddle offense. So there's a player, a deep sleeper in a lot of the listeners' leagues, who we can probably count on putting up anywhere between 12 and 20 points week in, week out.
Yeah, I was looking, Farrell, over the score for Kelly. He played a guy you definitely know. We talked to him at our show at the Horseshoe Casino. Taylor made 6. That is made by managed by Brad Taylor. Kelly beat him by 1 point.
Well, that's a great thing, Kelly, because you beat one of the best owners. You got him off your schedule rather quick and got that one in the books. Good job.
Yeah, I was relieved to get that out of my, I was very happy to start the season 1-0, especially against someone that, what I was saying is if Farrell referred him to us, let's interview him on the radio, then he must have been good. So I was very pleasantly surprised that I was able to pull out a victory in week 1.
Yeah, now you're moving and on the roll today, so you got to adjust your team on the fly and keep an eye on the scoreboard up there in Cincinnati as well as your phone. You'll be certainly multitasking from your box seats there at the stadium.
Oh yeah, definitely. Did I hear that you said I should be going with Fred Davis over Mercedes Lewis, or what are your feelings on that?
Matt, repeat that. Tyler, repeat that question. I didn't quite hear it.
Fred Davis
Tyler,
or Mercedes Lewis?
Fred Davis or Mercedes Lewis?
Oh, or Mercedes Lewis. Well, Fred Davis, Fred Davis, I really admire this player, but I did not see him in the Redskins' plans week 1. Mercedes Lewis, I've got to dig into that situation there in Jacksonville and look at that. You've got to study that, and you've got to see exactly how you're going to get tight end touches in that game. I can't fully advise you on that one, but here's what you have to do. You have to dig in it, whereas for week 1 it would be a no-brainer. Put Davis in the lineup. So there's some things you've got to balance there. You've got to look at how many times Lewis was targeted and why he was targeted. I don't have a Jacksonville player on my roster, and I haven't looked at them that exclusively to give you an answer there. But what I've got to tell you is you got to do a little homework. So I don't know how you're going to squeeze that in between now and your 1 o'clock kickoff, but it's
I'm a multitasker, Farrell. I mean, I'm on the road right now. I got my Mac, my laptop with the wireless card, and I can do a lot of stuff. So I need to. You're right. I need to research and find out if Mercedes Lewis will be targeted by the almighty Blaine Gabbert this week.
Well, yeah, and the good thing, the really, really good thing is you got a player in Lewis who's already off to a good start, that you really probably didn't anticipate him scoring those type of points. Davis will, before this year, join him as a point producer in fantasy ball. So you've got a little more at the tight end position than you really thought you had, and that's the good answer for that. I wish I had a better one for you.
Farrell, one question about my team quick before I get into some news for the listeners out there, maybe some questionable guys that might be playing, might not be playing today. I did start James Jones Thursday. He sucked, obviously. Don't even want to talk about that. I'm kind of in a dilemma right now. I'm looking over some news. I'm seeing Ryan Matthews not going to play today the way it's looking, unexpected to play. That would obviously mean Ronnie Brown, who I do have, my team name, my poop is Ronnie and Brown, is ready to go. But I don't have him started. I have Anquan Bolden, Dwayne Bowe, and Robert Meacham in there. Should I take either of those three out and put Brown in, or is my okay?
No, your three wide receiver mix is very strong. Who are your two running backs?
I got Shady McCoy and Kevin Smith.
There's where your question becomes. Kevin Smith has the 49ers today. Is that correct?
He does.
And that's a situation that the Niners essentially handcuffed Cedric Benson in his first game back, which I think Cedric was still dropping some of the rust off, but the Niners defense looks supreme.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Kevin Smith's a big pass catcher. If he can't get yardage on the field or in the run, he's going to stay on the field and catch the ball and produce points that way. However, you've got to look at Ronnie Brown and his involvement against the Raiders. He was pretty much involved on first and second down. They shuttled the three backs in with McClain and Brinkley. Brown was very close to scoring a touchdown. He looked as if he could have been the favored back in the red zone. You've got to decide if you think San Diego is going to put up some points and be in a red zone situation quite often in this game. I would lean towards Ronnie Brown. It's a tough move to make.
Yeah.
I would lean towards Ronnie Brown over Kevin Smith. If you think that Detroit is going to have to throw the ball to move it up and down the field with the 49ers, which I believe they're going to do, they're going to have to use every weapon they can, and Smith's going to be part of that. Best case scenario is both those players produce 15 points for you in the way that they can produce it. With Brown, that's a score, and with Smith, that's a lot of touches and a lot of catches and runs. So, as you talk about, you won your matchup by just a few points, and that's why this hobby is so great. That's why we love it so much, is it does come down to making these tough decisions on which one you think just might give you a little bump in points.
Yeah.
So think about it in that way, make your decision. You really can't make a bad one, just make an informed one.
Yeah, I'm kind of scary about that. I did pick up Noshawn Moreno at just as a little waiver wire pickup for one of my guys who's never going to see the field. I felt like he could, if he gets healthy, see some points. Obviously, I'm not going to be starting him. But, Farrell, off of our teams, some news around the league. Obviously, I did mention Ryan Matthews. He is unquestionable, looking like he's not going to play for San Diego. The Eagles, Philadelphia, Jeremy Maclin, Deshaun Jackson, he seems to be expected to play. Maclin is a game-time decision.
Those game-time decisions can always burn you in the world of fantasy. Now, if you're good with the computer and you're sitting on the edge of your seat and you're getting the information, go ahead and push the button at game time and make your change. But it's difficult to trust in that situation when you have players that can give you near production on the bench. So, we don't know about that until that point, and I really don't like to gamble that way, especially since we're not in bye week and our owners have a good list of players on the roster beneath their starters to play. Now, Matthews, we talked about this all through the preseason, and we finally got to the point where we just weren't going to draft Matthews because of availability issues. It's an 11-week season before we start the playoffs, 2 weeks of playoffs, then 3 weeks of league playoffs. It's a situation that in those 11 weeks, here's the second of 11, and I already don't have Ryan Matthews, and I don't know how long it's going to take him to get into form when he does come back. So why spend that top draft pick on him? The guys that did are probably beginning to worry.
Yeah, I have to totally agree with you on that one. Another thing around the league, I wanted to kind of, it does kind of mess with maybe your defense a little bit. In my opinion, it kind of affected me a little bit last week in another one of my leagues. Replacement officials, they're pissing me off, Farrell.
Replacement officials. Well, if you're watching the game on television, you're not seeing some of the glaring errors that the replacement officials may be doing. I read an article on Sports Business Daily this week about just how many times they've lined up in the wrong position to do their job. It's a difficult situation. I don't really understand why an agreement can't be forthcoming between the officials. But as we go deeper into the year, the hopes of the NFL is that the replacement officials will become better at their jobs. And outside of the legal issue, hopefully it will happen, and we'll see that. But yeah, it does certainly have a potential of marring a game.
Kelly, do you have anything?
Nothing other than go Bengals. I don't know. I mean, I hope go my teams. It's all about my teams.
It's all about me. Farrell, last question before I let you go. We're going to up against our commercial break here. Should I start Brandon Weeden or Tim Mastay as my quarterback?
Oh my word! What's happened? What are you talking about? Have we gone forward in a time machine?
No, this is the league of unextraordinary players that I'm in, where you can't pick any starters.
I'd like to have the scoring system of this league explained to me.
It's stupid. I really don't even understand it, Farrell. I just know that my quarterback is Brandon Weeden, and I was just kind of joking, but Tim Mastay had more touchdown passes than he did.
Well, Weeden, it was a difficult week 1 game to watch. What was fun about that game was that no one on that Cleveland defense ever quit playing. The Richardson ran with the power, although, that 8 in the box looked to me be about like 12 in the box. He had a real tough time getting anything done, but it's a pleasure to watch that team in week 1, and if they're going to be competitive about that, like that during the season, Weeden will probably join them as part of that competition as well.
Yeah, it's a tough week, Farrell, let me tell you. Anyways, check Farrell out. They keep changing the dates on me. What's the day? What's the time slot?
Oh, for our show,
yes.
Our weekly show, it's Wednesday at noon.
Okay.
We're always Wednesday, but hey, it's so successful we've moved to noon. What do you think about that? I really felt like a big-timer this week. I had a guest host. Brad Taylor was kind enough to drive in from Lexington and host the show for me. So, you've gone big-time, fellas, when you get a guest host.
There you go. Well, Farrell, as always, appreciate you talking to us. Good luck with your teams today. I'm pretty sure I'm going to win again, so we'll be talking to you Sunday about my 2-0 performance.
Yeah. That's that attitude, Tyler. You keep it up, and good luck to you, brother.
All right, Farrell.
Bye-bye.
Kelly, I love talking. We need to just do a whole. We need to bring Farrell in studio.
We do. Farrell's a great guest each week. Very, he does his homework. I like how he referenced right out of the gate. He knew what my teams were doing.
Yeah.
That guy does his homework.
He does. He's
no slouch.
Let's get to this break. Kelly, Gordon Marino, 11:45, Wall Street Journal, boxing.com.
Definitely.
Okay.
Talk some good boxing stuff. See what he thinks of the matches last night.
There we go. Maybe a little Earl Heyman. See if he knows about our man Earl about to take over Klitschko in the world. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.
You're listening to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Saturdays 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and Sundays 10 a.m. to noon. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Welcome back to Weekend Sports Buzz. Give us a call, 384-1450, 384-1450, the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line. As always, we'd love to get some input of this Louisville game. We are going to start talking about that. Myself, Tyler Boyd, Kelly Patrick. Kelly, Louisville is 3-0, man. I know we talked about a little bit earlier. The Joel, he called in, wanted to talk. Louisville 39, Tar Heels 34 in what ended up being a very fingernail-biting game for Cards fans.
Yeah, it was. I mean, at the beginning of the game, it looked like just all things were clicking. Everything was rolling on all cylinders. The left side of the offensive line, which was my primary concern with this team, having watched the game last week, they would look great. We were running the ball. Teddy Bridgewater was perfect. We had a couple, penalties. And we, for some reason, continue to, instead of kicking extra points early in the game, we go for 2. That didn't work too well for us. But aside from that, in the first half yesterday, we looked about perfect.
Yeah, the first half, I'm sitting up in the media press room area watching this game, and I'm looking at Louisville, and I'm just thinking, gosh, this team is actually really, really good. Obviously, there's a few small mistakes here and there, as there is every game. And I'm thinking, like me and Trevor go to the go down to the field for the start of third quarter, and it's Louisville's just continuing to do what they do. We decide we're hungry. Of course, Bacon's hungry, so we head out. I want to get home and watch Kentucky kick off. It was 6 o'clock, 6:30 when we left. I get home, Kelly, and it's 28-21 Louisville, or 39-21. Then it's 39-28, 39-34. North Carolina's got the ball. They have a chance to win this game. They come down a fourth and something on the in the final minute, less than a minute. They throw it up in the back of the end zone to the receiver. He grabs this ball, but luckily, give me the name. I'm not 100% his name, if you know.
Andrew Johnson, true sophomore out of Miami Northwestern, I believe.
Yeah, Andrew Johnson had a great breakup, saved the Cards' unblemished record, saved the Boo Birds from coming out, which they did earlier in the game, which that I do not like. You don't need to boo an undefeated team that's playing their butt off. I mean, I don't understand that, Kelly.
No, that's no good, but, I mean, you can't really blame them. I mean, that was almost the worst blown game that I've ever witnessed in my life. I mean, we had it handily. I was just hoping we could extend the lead in the second half, but just nothing was working in the second half. They came back. Bryn Renner was leading the Carolina offense, hitting that tight end. His name escapes me right now, but they had a lot of stuff working. Their offensive line was doing some things that they had trouble in the first half with. And, I mean, just one thing after another, and I was just sitting there, was this real? I couldn't believe it. And I was confident that Louisville was going to blow it at the very end. But, I mean, the significance of this, like you said, Tyler, the 3-0, this is a huge season, like Joel said. Going forward, it's a win. And the 3-0 is a home win against a team with a bunch of NFL talent. I don't know, supposedly. I mean, I don't think that'll impact whether or not they end up in the NFL. But, Jonathan Cooper, they got the Hurst, the left tackle, that'll be a first-round pick, not this year, but the following year. I mean, they have a lot of NFL talent on that team. They got, the defensive tackle, the nose guard. They got Reddick, the linebacker.
Yeah, they're a talented team.
They have the talent, but it did not look like it in the first half. I'd really like to hear somebody's opinion, maybe, I don't know, maybe a Carolina perspective on what they were thinking.
Well, luckily, Carolina Steve's on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzzline, Kelly. So
oh my God.
What a coincidence. Carolina almost pulled it off yesterday.
I'm doing fine. I think that the Tar Heels were looking a little bit ahead. They won in the game in the first half because they got a big in-state rival next week, the East Carolina Pirates. So I think they were looking ahead to East Carolina.
I totally agree with you, Carolina. No, but seriously, did you catch this whole, game, or at least the second half?
I didn't catch any of it.
You headed up to the racetrack.
I was up at Salem watching the ARCA race, seeing 3 Kimmels run and seeing Bill Elliott's son run up there. Watched a real good race and everything. I didn't even know what the score was until I was coming home, and then I got the shocker of all shocker. Kentucky losing to the Hilltoppers.
Yeah, Carolina, that didn't allow me to have the best night. The play was shocking as can be. That was a great call by Taggart, a great ballsy call by Taggart. Kentucky's defense is non-existent. I will say that. The offense, yeah, we put up, more than Bama. Hey, how cool. But we're almost more. We had 31, sorry. We put up 30 points against a top defense. But, Carolina, I don't understand how you let a Western Kentucky team come into your Commonwealth Stadium, Lexington Field, and get beat. I don't get it.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Western Kentucky, I thought last year they were actually the best football team in the state and didn't go to a bowl game. This year, I just like Willie Taggart's a head coach. Of course, he was under Harbaugh out at Stanford, and I think if you'll check, that's one of Harbaugh's plays on the extra point that he scored on and everything. But, Tyler, today we start the chase up in Chicagoland.
I noticed
and,
that.
And I'm thinking, there's several people I'm thinking, but I'm thinking that Benny Hamlin has a momentum and he can win the chase. Junior, I thought he might be good. He qualified fourth, but he's got to go to the back because he added a new engine and everything to his car, changed engines, and it ought to be a pretty good race. I hope to get home to see the latter parts of it. I'm working this morning and everything, so into another 50-some-hour week this week.
Wow.
And so I'm looking forward to seeing that and everything, and I'm looking forward to next Saturday. I won't be working. I will be at Kentucky next Saturday to get to see my favorite racer, Mr. Austin Dillon, drive next week.
There you go.
See if he can win 2 in a row up there at the Kentucky Speedway. It ought to be real good and everything, and it shouldn't be too much traffic, especially with football going on and everything. And up until Kentucky lost to Western Kentucky, I honestly thought they had a chance of beating the University of Florida. Now I've reassessed that situation. I can't wait to talk to Mason and Rashawn to give Rashawn props and give Mason pure T. Hades. Y'all have a nice day.
Carolina always bringing good riff to the Mason and Meyer show in the morning. Check them out every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9. Kelly, yeah, obviously Kentucky, heartbreak play, but the Louisville, moving ahead. You got a big one this week. FIU, people might not think that's too big, but when you lost to them last year, it's big.
Every game is really big this year. A couple of the things that I'm looking to from yesterday's game was at the very end when Louisville should have been dealing the ball, they had the game secured, and I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe they didn't know about the timeout situation, but for some reason they were still running the ball. Our highly coveted sophomore, John Miller, was hurt. Good news came from his Twitter feed late last night that he will be playing next week against FIU. So that's good. We have the same team, no significant injuries. I'm also hoping that when they get Dominique Brown to be able to make his season debut against FIU also. Our running game seems to be working fine, but it doesn't hurt to throw in a different style runner than Jeremy Wright and Norris Perry and have Dominique Brown, who runs, when he gets going, he may be the most talented guy on this team, and we can't forget about him.
Yeah, Dom Brown, obviously, he's missed the first 3 games. He didn't even dress yesterday. But, hey, you haven't needed him yet, Kelly. I know me and you talked about it over the week. I honestly don't think you need to. I mean, you would love to have Dominique Brown. Everybody would love to have Dominique Brown. You definitely need Dominique Brown. I'll take that back. But it's not hurting you not to have him because you're running back by committee kind of with your Norris Perry and, obviously Corbin Lamb getting a few touches in there here and there. Looking pretty good. Yeah,
the offense is not the problem. The offense is not the reason Louisville came so close to blowing that game last night. Dominique, we could have been a little more aggressive maybe late in the game, but you look at Teddy Bridgewater's stats, he had a hell of a game. I mean, you can't really take anything away from him. Can't take anything away from the running game, really. Special teams, Adrian Bichelle had the fumble where he almost got his head taken off. But going forward, the defense seems to be the area that the team needs to focus on, and I'm really hoping.
Well, what about Kelly? What about the fourth quarters? You struggled against Kentucky in the fourth quarter. The offense was non-existent against Kentucky in the fourth. Yesterday, -7 offensive yards in the fourth quarter.
That was not good.
Going on.
Yeah, that's not good, and that's one of the main reasons this coaching staff has plenty of reason to really get on the team and have a big week of practice. You're right. I don't know. It's hard to explain something like that. It has to be very frustrating for the coaching staff. For whatever reason, they have struggled to, expand the lead in the second half. I don't know exactly what it is. Hard to put my finger on it, but they've got to address the issue and they've got to get better with it as the season goes on, or they're going to lose one of these games.
Now, could you spin it as a positive? I could spin it for you as a positive as a Kentucky fan. Look back at the basketball squad, Kelly. Would blow out teams early and then allow them to get right back in it to come out, obviously, and win a championship. Maybe Louisville just gets out to early leads, allows teams to come back in, still pulls it out. I mean, a win's a win, right?
Yeah, you're right. A win's a win, and like I said earlier, I'll naturally put a little bit of a positive spin on it and say Louisville will address it. They got a little bit better on defense this week, in my opinion, and they'll maybe take some more steps forward next week, and they'll get to where they can put an entire game of high-level play together, hopefully next week in Miami against FIU. I mean, there's plenty of room for improvement.
Yeah, there's always room for improvement. There's room for improvement for Alabama. There's room for improvement for anybody in football, in any sport, any level.
It's coach speak. I know it's generic, Tyler. I get it, okay?
Of course. But, yeah, seriously, though, Kelly, are you nervous about next week? September 22nd, ESPNU, ESPN3, 7 o'clock at FIU. Are you nervous for this game?
Next week, September 22nd, is actually my wife's birthday, so I'm excited about it.
Tell your wife happy early birthday.
But as far as, I'll tell her that you said happy birthday. But I am excited about the game. I'm also nervous about it. I don't see this team as, one that I'll go into any game this year not being nervous, simply because of the nature of college football. If you really want to make a statement, and what I mean by that is a 10-2 or, 11-1 or, I'll go ahead and say it, undefeated type season, you can't lose. I mean, if you really want to make a statement, every game truly is the biggest game in the history, possibly, of the program this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with you. You can't be nervous going into a game. I'm really not even nervous as a Kentucky fan, even if we struggle. If we win 2 games, Kelly, guess what? I'd still bleed blue, and I'm still back in the fan base. And that's another thing I kind of wanted to bring up before we get to our break here in a few minutes. The fan bases of both programs right now. I'm correct. 384-1450 if you want to disagree with me. I know this is a small percentage, but the small percentage is what makes a fan base. You know this, I know that, everybody knows this. You come out, it's like you're Big Blue Nation when we win, but when we lose, you're just another fan. I don't understand it. I love Kentucky, and I'm going to support Kentucky left and right. If we go 2-10 the rest of the season, Kelly, guess what? I'm still going to cheer when we're 2-10. I'm not going to say F Joker, F this, F that.
That's good, yeah. The thing that I dislike the most out there is somebody who's a fan of Louisville for basketball, and then they have another favorite team for football. Something like that. If you support a school, and it's maybe your local school, for whatever reason you're a fan of that program, you should stick with them through thick and thin. And you don't have to agree with everything they do. You certainly don't have to like it when they lose. But,
I mean,
just failing on them is no good, and it frowns very negatively on you, in my opinion.
And I really do I want to punch in the face the first and second and maybe even the third person that tweets at me or says, I can't wait for basketball season. Come on, man. I mean, there's multiple sports. I'm not talking about your steeplechase. I don't care about steeplechase, any Louisville fan that brings up steeplechase. But seriously, get through the seasons. Move to basketball when basketball starts. I just wish it would be different. I love Kentucky. I know this is the small percentage. Most of the fans are like me. They love everything, and they're going to ride and die with the wins or losses. But as the other side of the fence, though, Kelly, you're Louisville. A lot of fans have been boo. First 3 games, there's been a lot of boos around Louisville. They booed Will Stein after 2 possessions. I mean, I don't think there's any need to be booing a team that's looking to be a top 15, top 10 team undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a passionate fan base does, though, as much as I agree with you, and I don't agree with ever booing your team. When expectations are high, I'll take an extreme example, maybe the Yankees, or the Phillies, cities like that.
I don't like to be compared to those type of fans, though. Do you? Do you want Kentucky, the Commonwealth, to be compared to as the Philly fan base, as the New York fan base, the dirtiest?
Those are the most passionate fans there are. So in a way, I think Kentucky already is one of those fans. Look at the way they handled Tubby, for example. I mean, he was having a pretty good career, 10 years with Kentucky, and they just, he wasn't winning championships, so they got him out of town. I mean, Kentucky's already there, in my opinion, for basketball. They're already right there with Phillies fans and New York Yankees fans.
I was more on the line of disgusting, Boo birds. I don't know. It's a. Let's get to the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz line before we get to this break. Get Gordon Marino on the line. Luther, what's going on?
Hey, what's up?
Nothing much. What's on your mind today, my man?
Yeah, I'm a Kentucky fan, and buddy, if you don't see that there needs to be something going on up there, then you're delusional. They've thrown the ball over 100 times the last 2 games, which tells you they had no running game. They had no defense. Talking about a defensive line that was pumped to be all pros in the preseason. There's big-time problems up there, man.
No.
For you to sit here and say, no, dude, for you to sit here and say that, you're going to support them, yeah, I'm going to support them too, but it's obvious that there are big-time problems up there, and I don't see how losing last night. I think you got schooled on a drawn-up play in the dirt to a Sun Belt team that was like the 4th or 5th place team in that conference last year, and you just got schooled. That's worse than the 2004 probation loss to Ohio. It's bad up there, and if Mitch Barnhart and Joker has any faith to them, he needs to call a press conference today and say there's going to be a change.
I'm right there with you on your thoughts of there's a problem. There's a major problem. I totally agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you that at all. I just don't like – I'm not saying you're that fan. I don't think you are. There's just a small portion that's just a little too crazy for me. No, there is a big problem going on, and I know Joker's going to be gone. If I'm one to say Joker's going to stick around, I'm stupid, and I'm very stupid to say that. Who would you want, Luther, to Kentucky to go look at?
That's the problem.
I know.
Who are you going to get?
That's the big problem.
And Louisville's done it. They've gone and hired Kentucky coaches. I wouldn't be above Petrino. I really wouldn't. I mean, I'm sick of looking at a high school offense. Anytime you run a hurry up, and in the midst of your hurry up, you stand up and look over at the sideline. That's not hurry up. I mean, it's pathetic, man. I mean, it's beyond pathetic. And Joker's problem from the get-go is that he surrounded himself with friends, and then that's what happens when you have friends. That as you have, obviously you have to be friends, but those friends have to have command your respect. So you have to command their respect to know that you're the head guy, and I don't see that happening, especially with the rumors of the argument at the Louisville game as well. I mean, come on, man. This is a railroad. This is a train wreck. It's even going to get worse. It's going to continue on. I'm 39. They haven't beaten Florida since I was a kid. They beat Tennessee for the first time since I was a kid, which is pathetic in itself. And there's no reason that they should be last place in the SEC every single year. And, break out the checkbook. You're going to spend $7 million on a soccer complex. Why don't you spend $7 million for a recruiting room that Rich Brooks wanted 10 years ago?
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's pathetic, man. It's not going to get better. It's going to get really worse. I'm comparing this almost to the Curry days. I mean, it's gotten that pathetic. You couldn't even find a coach last time. You bring a retired guy to come and try to raise the program, which he did to an extreme, or to an extent, excuse me. But then, you fall backward, right back to the current. I mean, you're switching defensive coordinators. And Randy Sanders said that he should have stayed a quarterback coach. Why do you think he got ran out of Knoxville? Because of the pathetic crap that he puts on the field every single week in and week out. It's pathetic. It's Pop Warner crap, man. I mean, when the guy goes under center, it's a running play. And if he does go back for a 10-step drop, which takes him 15 seconds to get to, he eyes his receiver down, and then you see what happened with number 1 on defense last night. He picks him 3 different times.
Yep.
So, it's not easy. It's just pathetic, man. You just sit there and you just shake your head for 3.5 hours. It's pathetic. It's Billy Gillespie, it's Bill Curry, all in one. It's pitiful.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Luther. And like I said, I'm not disagreeing. There's a big problem going on. The train is off the tracks. I appreciate the call. That's what we're all about, Luther. We want you to express your thoughts. I really do appreciate it, my man. Kelly.
Good stuff there. Awesome. My God.
That was great. I love that. That's what we want. We want that type of call. Louisville fans, Kentucky fans. We want your true thoughts because he called me out. That's great. Called me out. I agree with you, Luther. There's a big problem going on in Lexington, and I'm going to be right there with you first to join you and say, yeah, we got to make a change. You got to make a change fast. I'm not saying you do it in the middle of the season, but yes, right when this is over, get over with. Kelly, I know we got to get this break. Let's do that so we can bring Gordon Marino on the line. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz. Stick with us.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
back here to the final segment of the weekend Sports Buzz, presented by LivingForLess.org. And smart shoppers, check out LivingForLess.org. Half-price deals. You can get up to 75% off of some things like Joe's OK Bayou, Wick's Pizza, Rooster's Restaurant, some golfing outings at Champions Point, Covered Bridge over here in Indiana. Some great deals, so check out LivingForLess.org. And, of course, we've had a great show so far today. Thanks, as always, to our man Farrell Elliott, KFFSC.com commissioner, for joining us talking fantasy football. And in the first hour, we had our man Joel Zimmerman, little conference breakdown, a little conference talk, realignment, and Dave Spelker, as always, from Vite Magazine. Kelly, you're almost in Cincinnati. Are you there yet?
We're here. I'm waiting to go meet up with the family and do some tailgating for the next hour before kickoff.
There you go. Until that, let's get straight to the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzzline so we can get a little boxing update for the Louisville area, southern Indiana area, because we are a big boxing town. We have Gordon Marino on the line for the Wall Street Journal and Boxing.com. Gordon, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We've had you on a few months back, obviously, the Pacquiao-Mayweather, the Pacquiao
Timothy Bradley. Yep.
Timothy Bradley.
Yeah, Pacquiao Bradley, yeah.
Timothy Bradley fight. Talk about that. Kelly, you want to go ahead and talk about what happened recently?
Sure. A couple fights last night, Gordon. I was going to ask you, first off, which of the two fights did you choose to watch? Were you in attendance at either of them, or which one did you watch?
Yeah, I watched. I covered the Martinez Chavez fight, but I had to do it from home last night. I was stuck in Minnesota, so I couldn't get out there. But I watched that fight. It was exciting.
It was exciting. I was fortunate. I was able to watch that one. I actually had both fights up on different screens for me. Yeah. So I got to catch a little bit of each of them. What are your feelings about the Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. loss to the much older and more mature boxer Sergio Martinez? Yeah. What are your feelings about it?
It was a blowout. It was a blowout for 11 rounds. I mean, Chavez did nothing. And didn't mount. I mean, I think Martinez he threw much more than twice as many punches as Chavez. And then Chavez, and you could see the old man, the father, the icon, fuming in the corner. I mean, his eyes were dark and scary looking. That because it was a time. Finally in the 10th round, Freddie Roach said, "You got to knock him out." And in the 12th round, he went out there and he let his hands go. Now, the big thing in boxing that very few people know is the only way to deal with speed is to punch when the other guy's punching. A lot of people go offense and then they go on defense and back on offense. You can't do that. And finally, Chavez in the last round, 12th round, let his hands go when Martinez was punching and landed a big right and two left hooks and almost had Martinez out. And he looked ecstatic. I mean, he lost every round except the 12th and looked ecstatic because he got his red badge of courage. He went for the knockout. It was huge. So I think he was, and they're talking about a rematch now, and I can understand that.
Yeah, I did a little research actually, and I compared Junior to his father, who, for those of you who don't know, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. is arguably the most popular athlete maybe in the history of Mexico.
He was unbelievable. He was just, I don't think he lost a fight till around his 100th fight. It was amazing.
That's exactly where I was going with this. Was this a little premature for the Chavez Jr.? Was this a little early for him to fight such a polished boxer in Sergio Martinez?
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, but everyone's been amazed by his by Chavez Jr.'s development, and not that he's fought anybody. He hasn't fought really stiff competition at all. So it was a huge step up for him. But again, he lost every round last night. It was pathetic at points. Mm-hmm. So he isn't in the same league as his father. He fights the same kind of style, but he doesn't have his father's technique. Chavez Jr. didn't start fighting until he was 17. Well, his father started probably at 3.5 or something.
3.5.
I'm serious. These guys like De La Hoya, especially the lighter weights, they start at that age, 3, 4 years old.
Wow.
In the gym, and so you really get good at judging the distance between yourself and the other person and all kinds of things. But by the same token, Martinez didn't start until he was 20. Which is phenomenal. Wow. And sometimes you get that with the heavyweights because they're off playing other sports, but those were in the lower weight classes. It's really unusual to start at that weight class. But now I'll be interested to see. I would love to see maybe Ward versus Martinez or something like that. Ward's we saw that fight a couple of weeks ago when he took apart Chad Dawson. That was unbelievable.
Certainly, from that fight. So it looks like. They talked a little bit maybe about a rematch between Chavez Jr. and Martinez. As far as the other fight goes, You know, I'm a little bit more of a casual fan. I like to try to watch the big matches when they come along, and I'm always pulling for the young guys. I want to see some stars be born.
Yeah.
And the way that I kind of explained it to my buddy the other day was going into yesterday was that Saul Canelo Alvarez was a star in the making, and that hopefully Chavez Jr. was also. Going forward, what do you think the future is for Canelo Alvarez? Do you think he's truly one of the next big things? Will he get a shot at Mayweather?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it was hard to tell. You couldn't really tell from last night. I mean, Josecito Lopez, it was in over his head against a much bigger guy. Lopez does not have a huge punch. He doesn't have a lot of mobility, so it wasn't a big test for Alvarez. But he's definitely ready to step up to and fight somebody like a Mayweather now. That's super elite. But it's a lot of questions about what how he'll handle. He doesn't move his head a lot. He doesn't show a lot of movement. I don't know how he's going to do against somebody who can hit him, and hit him with some pop. So it'll be interesting to see. It's really hard to tell. He's definitely a great talent. He throws incredibly tight and powerful combinations. His combinations are short and fast, and he's very heavy-handed. So he's definitely got a lot of talent. But he can't. He still needs to pass some tests.
Hey, Kelly, not to cut into it, we are up at the top of the hour. We kind of ran a little quick with that one. Gordon, is there any big-time fights coming up quickly for the fans to tune into?
Well, yeah, we got Marquez Pacquiao 4 coming up in December.
That's why I wanted to get out there. I knew it was there, but some people may not have known. So yeah, everybody wants to tune into Pacquiao.
No, that was just a sign. It's probably going to be like the other three, but it's always been exciting, and it's a huge fight, and so that's a big one in the offing.
Yeah, it is.
I also watch this guy. There's an American heavyweight, Seth Mitchell, that I've been pushing for. I think is really, really good, and he's got a fight, and he used to be a football player at Michigan State. Seth Mayhem Mitchell. I think he's best American heavyweight prospect right now. He has a fight coming up.
There we go. Well, Gordon, we appreciate you taking a few minutes. We're up against the top of the hour. The show's ending. We'll definitely get you bring back on during this Pacquiao fight.
Okay, thanks so much. All the best to you.
You too, Gordon Marino. Kelly, great show today. We ran up to top quickly.
Great show. Had a great time. Thanks a lot to Gordon and all other guests, and go Bengal.
There you go. Have fun up there. This has been the Weekend Sports Buzz. Like you said, thanks to everybody. Next week, Saturday, back to the 9 to 11 slot, Saturday to 12. Coming up next, those weekend golf guys, stick with them. They'll get you through your Sunday, 12 to 1. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.